Hello friends, welcome to Tackle, and in this video we are going to see about the basic of Flutter, that means basic concepts about the Flutter. Now if you haven't seen my first video of this Flutter journey, then you should first watch it, as I have mentioned all the Flutter setup in that video, and then you should start your Flutter journey. So let's begin. Now, when we talk about Flutter basic concepts, we mean that we are talking about widgets. Now, what is widgets? Widgets are same as class. Now, what is class? That class has properties and some actions, and we are creating class instance through which we can access all those properties and actions of that class. Same way, widgets in Flutter means we have to extend that class to make use of that class properties and actions. So there are mainly two types of widgets, stateful and stateless. So let's first talk about stateless widget. Now, what is the meaning of state? State means previous value, or what was the previous state of any widget. Now, here the name itself says that it is a stateless. That means it doesn't retain previous state of its class. For say, I want one text box on the user interface, and whatever value is there is stored in the database. And now for new user, I don't want that previous value. I want new value for new user. So over there, I would make use of stateless widget, as I don't need to retain any previous value, right? So for that, we will make use of stateless widget. Now, when we use stateless widget, we cannot perform any calculation, like if we want to increment count, or we want to add, subtract, or any sort of mathematical operation, or no calculation can be performed when we are using stateless. So stateless are mainly used when we want to create a user interface in a very attractive fashion. Now let's talk about stateful widget. Now you know what is state, and as its name is stateful, it retains previous state of a widget. For say, I want to count how many users are there for my application. So for that, for each user, I would increment my count to 1. So over there, I will make use of stateful, as I want previous state, that when user 10th were there, my count value was 10. When the new user came, my count value would be incremented by 1. That means 10 plus 1 is equals to 11. So over there, I would have to make use of this stateful widget. So whenever we want any calculation to be performed with our user interface, then we can make use of this stateful. But if there is no business logic, we just want user interface, then we can make use of stateless. So this is the main fine line between stateless and stateful, that in stateless we don't perform any calculation, but in stateful we perform any sort of calculation, as we are using previous state. Now let's talk about Flutter Lifecycle. So when we talk about Flutter Lifecycle, there are three methods to it. First is init state, then build, and then dispose. So let's talk about init state first. Say you are purchasing a new laptop or new PC. So you will need to have a basic setup in it, right? So that you can run, or you can perform some additional task, but for that you need to have a basic setup to it. So what you are doing, you have purchased a new laptop and you have done all the setup, right? Same way, for application to be run and to be built, we need to have some basic setup first. So all things would go in the innate state, right? If we want some constant, if we want to set something, then it would all go into this init state method of the Flutter lifecycle. Now let's talk about build. Now in your PC all the setup is done and now you are playing a game. Same way, in our Flutter application all our setup is done in the innate state for the application, and now we are building our application in the build method of the Flutter life cycle. So all our business logic would go in this build method. So build method is a core part, or it is a heart of the Flutter. Now let's talk about the dispose. So now once you are done with using that application and running that application, then you will need to clear out certain things to free up your memory. So for that we will make use of this dispose method to free up memory or whatever resources it were using. So this is it about the Flutter basic concepts. And if you guys like my video, then please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thank you so much and see you soon in the next video. Bye.